Alright, for stage 2, let me go to another perennial favorite, the princess. Now, the princess is pretty interesting because today, you know, you've got these people playing MMOs and they're like, oh, gender pretender, why are you playing as chicks if you're a guy? Well, guess where it all started? All the guys in the 80s playing as the princess in Mario 2. Let's see here. Darn Bezos. Hope I don't fall down. Let's keep moving. Let's try a little trick here. The real reason why anyone would play as the princess in World 1 2. There you go. Yeah, I know, right? What World 1 2? Anyone else out there used to have nightmares because of how the Phantos were in this game back in the day? I know the Phantos used to scare the heck out of me, those little face things that fire off when you pick up a key. So anyways, let's kill Ostro yet again. Of course, because Wart was a... because Wart, of course, had a whole army of those things. That was easy, but no bonus. No, which doesn't matter, because I don't need tons of extra lives to play this game. Let's try Toad this time. You know, Irate called Toad worthless. He's not. Toad picks things up the fastest, and unlike the other characters in the game, even though he is the worst jumper, when he picks up an item, he actually speeds up. Unlike the other characters that get encumbered by the items they pick up, when Toad picks up an item, he actually walks faster. So you can actually walk pretty fast in this game. You can actually walk pretty fast by playing as Toad and running around carrying something all the time. Oh man, I hate it when that happens. When you get your 5th cherry in the subspace. Anyways, let's see if I can do this jumping sequence with the Retro Duo controller without getting too messed up here. Alright. For years, I did not know how to get this potion to work correctly. Whoops. Darn jumping logs. That's right, I had to use the fish, didn't I? Oh, there we go. Now, this used to drive me nuts, having to hit that log right at the right time. Oh, years of experience pays off. There we go. And of course, I'm not going to use any cheats or not cheats, but I'm not going to use any warp zones or anything. Probably going to beat Mouser, and then that'll be that. Oh. Well, as far as the controller is concerned, I'm doing just fine, but you know, it's like taking a Greyhound bus to a NASCAR race. You know, you might be able to get the bus to go very fast, but you'd probably much rather be in a stock car than in a bus. You know, the bus really wasn't made for that kind of stuff. So, it's kind of those things where there's an old song by Out of the Grade with a line that goes, "If you don't know what you're missing until you get a glimpse of something better." So if you've been playing this console and you're like, Jay, you're wrong, the Retro Duo controller isn't all that bad. Well, first of which, it feels very cheap. It does hinder your movements a bit, as I've seen with this thing already killing me once. And, you know, you're shortchanging yourself. You're shortchanging yourself with a... That is cool. You're shortchanging yourself by using this controller instead of the SNES controller. Oh yeah, by the way, here's one of the things I love the most about the SNES port. That is spooky. Now, as a kid, I told you I thought the Phantos were scary. Well, that thing is even worse. You know, that just reinforces that whole thing. Now, let me see if I can do this without being a wuss like I used to be and throwing the key every time I pick it up so I don't have Phantos on the screen. Because that's something I used to do all the time. Ooh, narrow miss there. Let's keep falling and fall over to the right side of the screen here. There's our locked door. Oh, yes. And just like old times, I usually got cherry number 5 somewhere around here and got to go invincible through the rest of this. I'm just glad that whatchamacallit. I'm just glad that I haven't died again because of this controller. I mean, this is probably a better place for it to happen than that spot in stage 1. Let's see here. Oh yes, and who remembers trying to get down and hit Mouser with the invincibility? There were some areas in the game, this darn slow hawkmouth thing is why, but I do remember... I do remember, of course, trying to get a star near Ostro and then racing into just one-shot him. Just one-shot his sorry ass, but anyways. Ah yes, Mouser. Another boss in this game that used to give me nightmares when I was 6. Because I was jumping on top of the bombs when I was a kid and trying to throw them back instead of just standing underneath them and catching them and throwing them back. So gotta love it, you know, when your cognitive functions aren't up to snuff yet and you're like trying to beat a boss like this. And that was pretty simple. Only got hit once. What are you gonna do? On to World 2. And I think this is where I'll stop here for now. But that was pretty fun. All I have to say about the Retro Duo controller is that it's usable, but you're seriously shortchanging yourself if you think you can use this thing in lieu of an actual SNES controller or even a half-decent third-party controller. It's a cheap pack-in, McDonald's Toy quality, and most certainly not worth your time if you're any kind of serious retro gamer. One last thing. I mentioned in the spoof review that the buttons were all concave. I took another look at the unit later on, and basically you got two buttons that are concave and two buttons that are flat, but none of them that are as convex as the buttons on the Super Nintendo controller were. When you first look at this, when you try and play it, it's going to feel like all four of the buttons are concave, and you really got to look closely at them to see that two of the buttons are flat. Plus, they screw them up. On the original Super Nintendo controller, X and Y were concave, and A and B were convex. On this controller, Y and B are concave, and X and A are flat. You'll notice I didn't use Mario for this video, and that's because I hardly ever used him in the real game. You know, he's kind of an average guy where you want the specialities. When you want the specialities of the other three characters, you tend to blow off Mario. But well, let's just for the heck of it, let's just have Mario run around like a sissy in the desert while we finish up this video. All in all, the Retro Duo controller, it's usable, but I don't recommend it. You definitely want to replace it with even an old SNES controller that's been properly restored if it's broken and things along those lines, because this is definitely a step down. And if anybody likes this controller, they probably have never used anything else. I also don't know how much abuse this thing can take before it gives out, see if it really is truly a reincarnation of the Atari 5200 joystick. Anyways, let's just hit stop on this by now. And until next time, this is MultimediaJay. Game on.